Morning, everyone.
Good
Good morning, Rabbi.
We are learning Mishnah Shabbos, Parakut Ches, chapter 18, Mishnah Gimel, Mishnah 3. I dedicate this morning's learning in memory of my mother. Our learning should be a schus for the neshama of Shlama Spas Rabbi Yaakov Eliezer.
Amen.
We're continuing discussing the laws that deal with the rabbinic prohibition of excessive work, excessive effort. There may not be any kind of specific malacha, any kind of specific form of forbidden activity involved, but the mere fact that it involves excessive effort, that's why the Chachamim forbade it. So here's the next example. Ein miyaldanas behema b'yomtiv. You cannot birth an animal on yontif. It means an animal is giving birth. So what do you want to do? You want to basically help along by basically putting your hand in and pulling out the baby. Instead of just letting it come out by itself, you stick your hand in and you pull it out. So we say you can't do that on Yontif, which means you certainly can't do it on Shabbos either. And the reason why you can't do it is because it's considered excessive effort for Shabbos or for Yontif. Avo mesadin, but you can help out. And help out means that when the baby comes out, you can hold it. Instead of it hitting the floor, you could hold it. So that kind of effort they allowed you to do. And interesting, on the bottom here, they bring down that even assisting an animal is allowed only on Yontif and not on Shabbos. Okay? So at the end of the day, on Shabbos, it seems like you can't be involved in anything. While when it comes to Yontif, you cannot birth it, you cannot take the baby out, but you can help along, meaning to hold it, that it shouldn't hit the ground when it comes out. Next.
But on Shabbos,
Nothing. Seems like that. You can't do anything. Mm-hmm. Now, then the Mishnah continues, Umiyaldina seisha b'Shabbos. But you can deliver a woman of her child on Shabbos. Okay, whatever you want to do there, you can do. And even on Shabbos. You can call a midwife from place to place. Place to place means that even though it will involve her traveling what's called beyond the Tchum Shabbos, she may do that. Now, Tchum Shabbos is a halacha. The woman may not walk 2,000 amas, 2,000 cubits from their place of residence, which either means the town they live in or the house that they're in if they're not, let's say, if they're living, kind of on their own. So there's a limit to how far you can walk on Shabbos. Now, when you go, basically when the situation is you're going from one town to another town, they're all right near each other, you can walk whatever you want. Here, the point is, though, there comes a point that you leave the town, you're outside of the city limits. That's already when Tchum Shabbos comes into effect. But basically walking blocks and blocks and blocks amongst places where there are houses and everything like that, and it's a regular place of living, you don't have any kind of issues with that. But if it means that to get this midwife, she has to go more than Tchum Shabbos, then she's allowed to. And you may even desecrate Shabbos for this woman who's given birth. That means even if we're talking about things that will be prohibited to do on Shabbos, if she needs them, you may do them. Some of the examples I bring down here on the bottom is like this. For example, we may light a candle for her. She needs light. There's a lot of examples in the Gemara about, people who are sick, they need light. Other than light, it makes them very disturbed and whatever. Maybe you need light because if it's dark, you can't help her, what she needs. Very simple, right? We may carry oil from one domain to another for her, right? That would have been going from public domain to private domain. You can do that for her. Biblical malachas biblical malachas are permitted not only for her physical health, but even to put her mind at ease, because peace of mind can also be necessary for her survival. So whatever the examples of that are, the Gemara talks about that. But the point is that when a woman is already in the process of giving birth, she's considered in danger, and therefore whatever it is that helps her along, that keeps her safe, healthy, at ease, stable, that we're allowed to do. Now, again, you have to learn the halachas to know exactly what that includes. But the point is, as a general rule, it is possible that one can desecrate Shabbos, even something that would typically be prohibited from the Torah for the purpose of this woman who's giving birth. Now, the kaishrin es hatabur, which means, and you can tie up the umbilical cord. Okay. Now, what are you tying it up for? Now, the way they bring it down here is you're tying it to shorten its length, because otherwise it might get caught on something and endanger the child. We're afraid if that cord is hanging out, it may get snagged on something. The child's going to be moved. It's going to pull on the cord, and that's not going to be good. So therefore, we say, the Tanna Kama says, you can tie it up, but you can't cut it off. Can't cut it off. You can tie it up. That'll somehow or another shorten it, but you can't cut it off according to the Tanna Kama. That's what it says. But you can tie up the umbilical cord. Yossi says, you can even tie it, you can even cut it off. Why? So they bring down here on the bottom, they bring here an explanation. Rabbi Yossi says that we may cut it off because otherwise the mother might accidentally tug at it. So therefore, that is what Rabbi Yossi is concerned about, and he says, therefore, you can even cut it off. But the Tanna Kama disagrees with that. Now, interestingly, the Bartanura brings down that the halacha is like Rabbi Yossi, that even on Shabbos you can cut it off. Okay, and it also says, the Bartanura says, you can clean it. Avak hadas. There's some kind of ground myrtle dust that they used to put on it, the kayetzebai, and anything else that basically is needed to deal with it. It's probably a lot of it probably has to do with dealing with infection and things like that. Now it's also now according to the Tanna Kama, what's the problem with cutting off the umbilical cord? So the explanation is it's the malacha of shearing, because it involves cutting excess skin from the body. Shearing means like wool, right? It grows off the body, and you're cutting this thing that grows off the body. This would be the same thing. That would be the problem. If you don't consider it a need, the problem here is it's the malacha of geizes of shearing. Rabbi Yossi says it is a need. It's an important need for the safety of the child, and therefore, it said before you can tie it. Is this tying a deraisa? It doesn't say, but it doesn't. But that's nothing. This is nothing to do with the mother. It's to do with the child. So Rabbi Yossi says you can even cut the umbilical cord, and Bartanura says that's the halacha. V'chol tzarchei mila oisen b'Shabbos, and whatever is needed to be done for a bris, for a circumcision on Shabbos, you may do, and that's the introduction to the next chapter.
Oh, okay.
Have a wonderful day.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Thank you, Rabbi. Can you do a bris when the child is still attached?